I'm gonna do something bold, and I'm going to with the stats I found. We are going to argue that Ryan Fitzpatrick. We talked about Drew Brees being one of the most underrated quarterbacks of all time. We talked about, like already said, Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford, currently the most underrated quarterbacks. But one name that we need to throw in there for maybe currently most underrated quarterback, and possibly one of the most underrated quarterbacks of all time. The name we have to throw in there is Ryan Fitzpatrick. If we take a look at his stats, he is more impressive than we realize. We discredit him a lot because he's a journeyman. He's been around to so many different teams, and often when a player doesn't stick with one team, goes to all these different teams that Ryan Fitzpatrick has, we discredit them and we just kind of assume that they're not that good of a player, because if they were a good player, they would be signed long term. But let's take a look at this, because that's not the case for Ryan Fitzpatrick. He has more passing yards than Kurt Warner. He has more passing touchdowns than Phil Simms. He has a better passer rating than John Elway. He has a better interception rate than Joe Namath, although to be fair, Joe Namath is the most overrated quarterback of all time. Let's go to the opposite side of the spectrum. I have said that so many times. Joe Namath, criminally overrated. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick has a better completion percentage than the great Dan Marino. So, with that being said, why? I already mentioned that because the journeyman really puts a kind of damper on his legacy, his overall outlook, his career as fans and as outsiders to the sport. But I'm here to tell you that Ryan Fitzpatrick, Fitzmagic, needs a little more respect to be put on his name and to be put on the legacy that he's leaving behind and to be put on his career, because he's not a bad quarterback. He's not a guy that just shows up for 3 to 4 games a season. He's inconsistently consistent. That's the one, and that's real confusing, but who cares? He has the stats to prove. Of course, stats aren't everything. Stats don't tell the full story, but we can't deny the fact that Ryan Fitzpatrick is a great quarterback. At least a lot of the time, he is a great quarterback, and you could put on a performance. And Tua Tagovailoa is coming into a good opportunity down there in Miami, because Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't a bad quarterback to learn from. Ryan Fitzpatrick can still play this year if the Dolphins want to take it easy on getting Tua back into the season, because you gotta be careful about this. If he's a franchise quarterback, you spend a top pick on him. You don't want to rush it. You don't want to push it. You don't want to risk injury. Also, you just don't want to throw him into the fire sooner than it needs to be done. You don't want to waste him. You don't want to ruin him, much like the Cardinals did with Josh Rosen, who, of course, is another Miami player. But Ryan Fitzpatrick can teach Tua a lot. He's a hardened veteran, and there's a lot that he can teach him, whether it be different kind of play styles, different coaching styles, just a lot of experience. He knows defenses. He knows teams. He's been around for over a decade now. And Tua should be all ears on Ryan Fitzmagic, because, like I just pointed out, he is one of the most underrated quarterbacks of all time.